Introducing X-Credi LP staking from industry-leading RWA loan collateralization platform Credify. Earn 10% cashback in USDT after 90 days, with more rewards coming soon for X-Credi holders. Visit v2.credify.finance.
To catch up, catching a live rave song records. Love the sound of that. Believe it or not, I used to actually be in the music industry when I was younger. So really, really kind of hits home for me that. And I did used to love a cheeky rave as well. Although I do have to say, not been raving for some time. So how is everybody doing today? Are we all well? Feeling good? Markets are correcting, but look, it always makes me laugh when I go on to Twitter, right? Because you go on there and basically everybody just is acting like it's the end of the world, right? So just zoom out. Weekly's a really, really good place to kind of get some context. All right. Now, for me, I really like this line here. Yeah. Now, why do I really like this line? Well, quite simply, if we take the first two touch points on here, and obviously you adjust these lines. In fact, quite often what you will see on my charts are, don't like the lines to be too thick, right? But be something like this, okay? Now, the reason for that is it gives us some context, all right? So we can see here, obviously, resistance, resistance, resistance. These are typically areas, rather than lines, all right? Now, we've got this high over here, right, which is a weekly swing high. It's a daily swing high. For me, this is providing the key kind of draw for liquidity here, all right? Now, we can see here that this has obviously been a problematical area, right? Resistance, resistance, resistance. Then we've had this nice close above this lower line here, all right? And we're currently running into this one. So, I mean, I'm really, really comfortable and actually quite happy to see Bitcoin kind of running all the way down to here, in truth. And why would I be comfortable and happy to see that? Well, quite simply, we would have, or we do have, a weekly order block here, right? So what does that mean? Well, it means that if the buyers stepped in here, yeah, and that caused this pump, then when we revisit areas like this, you want to see if the buyers are there again, all right? DJ Irene House Music. Nice, really good friend of mine who I was best man at his wedding in Jamaica last year. His mother-in-law is called Irene. She's just one of the most lovely women. Anyway, before I digress and get too off topic, Duncan, hello, mate. You are here. You're in. Remember, guys, if you've got any alt requests, please do let me know. If not, I'm just going to pick a load at random and we'll see, or maybe we'll pick a little narrative or something like that. Also, as well, guys, don't forget, that to give a little bit of extra to the Bitget partnership, because they've been so good. We've been working with them for a while, really helping kind of with the UX design, they really are making sure they've got one of the best exchanges out there. I mean, I love them. They give us really amazing fees to trade with. And as a low time frame trader, that means a lot to me, because it saves me a lot of money and allows me to take kind of, positions that are a little bit difficult to take in crypto sometimes, So I've come much more from kind of trading the NASDAQ, the S&P 500, the Forex markets, right? So within that, you see much lower fees than what you get in crypto. So it really does help. But also as well, on top of their $20 that they're giving you, remember guys, this is withdrawable cash as well. You just need to sign up, and look, and the rules are there, right? You can sign up, deposit the $100, just withdraw the whole damn thing, and be $20 better up. All of a sudden, you've made 20% for the day. That's a pretty good win. But I would really recommend trying out the exchange, and also just get back to me with the feedback. They're always so keen to iterate over there. But what we're doing as well is, if you message me, then just ping me a DM when you sign up. Send me your UID number from the exchange, and I'll get you 2 weeks free access to all of our trading calls, all the education material, the full private Discord, and you can make that work for you, right? I think it was ridiculous. If you had a 10K account last month and followed our trading calls, you would have made that back again, just under about 9,700, I think, without any leverage, right? So, I mean, it's pretty mad. I mean, what did we do? Hang on. Yeah, okay, 48.37R last month, the trading team did, right? A 10K account with 2% risk would have made you $9,424, meaning that if you even had a $1,000 account, you can work out the maths, right? You'd have $942. Anyway, back to Bitcoin. So let me just get this off the screen so we can see the max. Now, I really want to see this area I'd love to see this area retested, because these things give us a really good indication of what price is up to. Now, we refine this much more on the daily chart, the 4 hour, etc., which we're going to do in a moment. And then we're going to take that and we're going to put that focus across on to there. Loving it, guys. Okay, FTM. Big FTM fan is our Seb. And then ISIT. Is that right? ISITA USA. Oh, it's a place. I thought it was a token, Cappy, you wanted me to look at. If you do have any tokens, do let me know. So I think, look, on a weekly scale, what are we looking for? What am I always banging on about, right? Bullish gaps, nice reaction to the bullish gap. Then we want to see the order block set afterwards. Happy days, right? Now, this was a little bit of a, I suppose, surprising move, but actually I think these moves often, I'm looking for these sweeps, right? I want to see price take out lows and draw on that liquidity and then use that for reversals, right? So when we got this move, great, really seemed like we were going to kind of have this upwards momentum then. Obviously, it's a really big down close candle there to get above. However, when we kind of corrected a little bit lower, that really kind of threw the market offside. And then a lot of people, including myself, were looking down to this kind of 49K region here. This was in August, right? And then what happened is price just had this real kind of bullish reaction. Now, this to me, looks like a kind of divergence in here, all right? So when price doesn't need to kind of take a low or sweep a high and then gets that immediate impulse, then it can be seen as a really, really bullish thing. In this case, bullish, obviously. In this case, it was bearish, right? Because price failed to come up and sweep this high, and then had that sell-off. And we see how strong that sell-off was. And then price typically, hunts down liquidity, sitting below old lows or old highs. So reacted from a bullish gap, set the bullish order block, price is correcting back down, and it's left a failure swing, right? That's just, it's just beautiful, right? Because we often see it when price gets to a key level like this and fails to take it, then you very, very often see price come back for that level, okay? So what do we do now? Well, really simply, I was covering this morning. I think a lot of it is about context. So once again, what's the last thing that's happened? Let's kind of run through it. We've taken this high here, right? Which was Friday's high. Then we left this slither of a bullish gap, right? So that was bullish here until we closed. Oh, definitely doesn't need to be that color. Until we closed through it here. That then becomes an inversion gap, right? And just think of it as your classic support to resistance flip. Lodovic, Ondo, yeah, of course, mate, with absolute pleasure. And our lovely Erica, what do you want there? Dusk. Hey, Zach, how you doing, my friend? Yeah, and I'll stop trying to look up that ISITA, a sitter. Kathy, I thought that was a token, mate. So we've gone through this. Violations like this means that price is almost certainly seeking liquidity lower. So where are we now? Holding this lovely bullish gap. I'm just going to do this in green, right? Just so that it kind of stands out a little bit. I'm going to put a D in there to show that it's a daily gap as well. So for me, I'm now looking lower and I'm saying, okay, we've got this weekly untested order block here. That's going to be a big draw on price, 65,619 here on Bitget, all right? So I just want to put a set of rules in place. And I want to say to myself, okay, well, if this doesn't work, if this doesn't hold price now, and I said about it, very vocal about it yesterday, very vocal about it this morning. Not that many people read my Twitter account, but, maybe one day they will. Because I love to get kind of feedback on it from you guys as well. So look, we came in, retested this gap, big bullish reaction here. If the buyers were here before, who's to say the buyers aren't here again, right? Now, we've got a lot of other factors to put in, and I want to kind of strip away the noise. I don't like being one of these people that brings so many things to the party. In fact, I think I mentioned him last week, Cold Blood Schiller, who I don't know at all, just, a guy from Twitter who I think has some really, really excellent content. Just turned around and said, stop, not to me, although kind of to me really, but to everyone, just said, stop looking for excuses to not be long in this market or not look for opportunities in this market, whether it's the election, whether it's, the stock market, etc. Now, I do factor those things in, but I think there's something quite true in what he was saying in terms of the purity of we're very typically pessimistic creatures, people. So I think what we want to be saying is, okay, well, where are the buying opportunities rather than, oh my God, is this thing going to zero? And as we all know, things like Twitter and stuff like that can be really, really toxic for that. So as long as we hold this gap, I'm looking up, right? I feel like we could get a deeper correction because I think the weekly order block is a really big draw on price and this big gap down here as well. Now, if we take out our Fibonacci, and we take it from the low to the high of this move here, yeah, then we have some confluence here as well. We're below the 50%, which if you look at it from the perspective of risk to reward, yeah, or for anybody that studied any of Michael's stuff, ICT, for example, he would call this premium discount, right? Which is a good way to think of it, actually, because you want to be buying at a discount, right? Simple as that. And you want to be selling at a premium. So just think about it in the most simple terms. You want to sell what you have at the very highest amount, and you want to buy as cheap as you can. So overlaying this, right, now we would need a deeper correction down to this order block here to get near the golden pocket, but there's absolutely nothing stopping price having a big flush down to these regions, getting everybody super bearish. Yeah, then we get this reaction in here and things start to fly. Oi, oi, Savaloy. Gordon, our friend from Bedford, how the devil are you? So until we get that, though, I'm not just going to sit here on my hands and think like, oh, okay, what should I do? Do I sit here? Am I going to short this? Absolutely not, because we're in a daily gap. But I do think price could draw lower. So I just have a plan to trade the market both ways based on a set of parameters, which we will cover shortly. And hey, Mr. Brownbug, how are you doing? Have a lovely day yourself as well. Love the vibe from our viewers on here. Always a great bunch. What do you think about ETH BTC on the higher time frame? Looking for 0.035. If that doesn't hold 0.028, well, I tell you what we'll do. We will absolutely have a look at that, my friend. ETH BTC. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw down through some time frames. I will pretty much always apply a triple screen system to the way that I trade. So for crypto, as we've been discussing recently, actually, with our trading club, so we trade live together. I lead a trading session for members, and we trade live together. We scalp charts on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And fun enough, we're actually in about an hour's time from now, aligned with the New York AM session for the stock market. We will step in and be doing that again. So we want to see where the opportunities are. Now, on here, I need to set up a set of parameters. So if I'm using a triple screen system, I would use a daily, move to an hourly, and then look to refine on a 5 minute. All right. But I will cover the 4 hour and the 15 minute as well, because if I was using a scalping system, using a 4 hour, a 15 minute, and then a 1 to 5 or a 1 to 3 minute normally for execution. Litecoin, let's absolutely have a look at Litecoin, Cappy. Litecoin did die a death, didn't it? Maybe there's a resurgence for the old school warriors. Right, so price can draw down to here, simple as. Let's move to the 4 hour. Just turn these session breaks off as well. So we can see that we've had this kind of nice reaction here, right? And we came in and we took out Tuesday's low. So this is why I was interested in longing this asset this morning, right? I was in Cold Bloods groups before. Dogs got game. Yeah, he's a smart guy. I love his commitment and kind of what he kind of brings. He's got his system, sticks to his system. You see that with the very best traders, in my opinion. So where are we and what the hell is going on? Yeah, so we've come down into this. We've got this reaction here. Now this is the daily gap. We want to overlay this with some kind of 4 hour bias. So 4 hour, we can see we've taken out Tuesday's low here, which is lovely. Prior day's low, often good liquidity pools. Look what happened here on Monday. That was Monday's low. And this is where, you know, if you're doing intraday trading, then using your session breaks is really handy, right? So that was the prior day's low there, swept, reaction. This was the prior day's low here. Look at that reaction, right? Price going back up to there. Same way that when you start taking out prior day's high, or this move here that took out the high of Friday, yeah, you want to look for these key kind of liquidity pools, but we're not really going to focus down that low today. So what we are going to have a look at here is price reacting here, moving up. 4 hour doesn't really give us much here. Okay, the only other thing that I've got here on the 4 hour is looking at these kind of aligned order blocks. So what I would do is just take this here, OBH4, up close candle. Yeah, you want to see price find resistance at these up close candles. So if you've got consecutive candles, all right, so really nice here. Look, price comes below, resistance sells off. Then when you even look at the lowest of these here, for example, you would do the same. I'm not going to kind of go and draw them all in, but it gives you a really key area of interest. But actually, for crypto, I like focusing a lot more on the hourly, but I'm going to leave the 4 hour on there as well so we can take a look at that. Burned, do you regard the reverse FVG on the 30th, the 9th, the 1st, the 10th as mitigated daily? Oh, I love that term. And Mr. Brownbag, awesome. Do you know what? Whenever I hear my own voice, I absolutely hate. No, I hate it actually, but I'm not the biggest fan of my own voice. I'm not sure anybody is. Everyone I speak to about it always says the same thing, that they don't really sound like they think they sound when you listen to yourself back. But I would absolutely take that, mate. Any comparison with Attenborough is godly, in my opinion. The man's an absolute legend. So on here, right, and what were you saying there? So on the 30th of the 9th, let's have a look. So where were we here? Sunday. So 30th. So you mean this one here? Is that right, Burn? So 30th of the 9th and the 1st of the 10th. So this gap here, do you regard the reverse FVG? Yeah, so inverse FVG here, this was really, really good that you brought this up, actually, because for me, this was really, really key to this part of the move, which was, so what Burn's talking about here is this was originally a bearish gap. We can see it here, price tagged into it here, sold off. We took external liquidity below the low there, right? We swept this low here and we took a sweep of the low to cause this correction. So this becomes a dealing range. Then what we can see here is we see these kind of gap inversions like we saw with this one. Again, bearish gap, closed above. So now it becomes bullish. So it becomes support. You're looking to long above it. Same thing happened here. We drew into this. I think what Bernd is asking here is whether I consider this gap as mitigated. So let me just get rid of this for a minute. I wouldn't consider, so this for me, right, when we close above it, we turn it into an inversion gap, right, or a reverse gap, exactly like you said, yeah? So now we're kind of across here, then price is drawn into it. For me, you know, once price closes back below this, then I invalidate it. That's the way that I treat it. If I was to look at it being rebalanced as such, and I don't use that as much with gap inversions, I'm just looking for that strong close above it and then for this area to hold. Close back below it, invalidates, and it's done. But in terms of rebalancing, yeah, typically with a gap, you would just want to see, the wick, yeah, down and through. Now, once the wick has kind of filled that gap, I still take notice of the area, right? But what I'm really looking for here is for price to close below it. With saying that, right, I'm using that a lot more in terms of the rebalancing with gaps like this. So, for example, this gap is completely rebalanced now. Yeah, this bullish gap, but the body's still holding. So while the body holds, I'm not looking to short this. I might do on an intraday basis, but overall, this is holding at the moment, and I'm looking for bullish reactions in here. So hopefully that answers your question there, Bernd. If not, mate, please do let me know, and we will jump back into it. So here we are right now. On the 4 hour, we can see, we had this breakdown from here. This is all a little bit messy, price kind of ranging around in this area here. And then we've kind of had this sharp move lower. So what would I look for here? Well, let me just turn off our dear friend Geo's indicator here, which is what we use for intraday trading, right? But just to keep the chart nice and clean, what has price recently done, right? So it took liquidity above this high. So the expectation was, because we've been, we're back in bullish market structure. You're very, very welcome, mate. Cappy, that's good news. Schedule set for the live stream session. Awesome. So as we look at this here, right, what happened? Now, I'm a very simple creature. That applies to most things in my life, and especially trading and market structure. Well, for me here, yeah, that's a regain of bullish market structure here. Yeah, so obviously that looks ugly. If you see that on, your nice charts and textbooks and that, it will look a lot more like this. Yeah, so bullish market structure. Why? Because we've gone from a lower low, set the higher, higher low, and now a higher higher. As it turned out, that was a big liquidity sweep here, and price corrected lower. But whilst it did that, where I was actually looking here on the hourly was for price to find support here on the hourly order block. So we can draw that in and say, look, we don't just want to be longing these things blind, right? You see the move above it, which was a little bit questionable, kind of small body candles here, and I always have SZ ringing in my ear. Small body candles lead to big body candles, right? And he's right about most things in trading, to be honest, that man. Total legend. But you can see here the body's, this little compression, then we pop. Now, why did I not want to long up here? First of all, we've taken liquidity from this higher, right? We left this one intact. Remember what I said about failure swings as well, so we didn't quite take that. Now, for me, I'm then looking to long within here, right? Or maybe even sometimes a little bit deeper, as long as we don't change the delivery, right? If we change our state of delivery, if we set a bearish order block, then that's when we need to think, all right, why is there weakness stepping in here if we want to see strength? Okay, so once we came back into here, I'm typically looking for the equilibrium of these moves as well. Okay, so you want to see the 50% hold, which is these two candles, because they're adjoined candles. And some people take it wick to wick, others just use the bodies. I use the flat top of the down close candles for bullish order blocks all the way to the lower wick, unless it's an abnormally long wick, in which case I favor the bodies. All right, Duncan, absolutely, mate. You totally take a look at that. I think we did a little bit of coverage on that recently, actually. So it'd be interesting to see how that played out. Anyway, the key change for me here was in this. So there's our bullish order block. Great. Did we get any long setups in here? Well, let's look. Yeah. So we set that here. This is the candle that we're going to look for longs. So I'm just going to teach you a little bit about how we can look for confirmation setups, right? It's a good way to stop you aping into the market. Yes, you'll miss certain moves and stuff like that, but overall, I think it helps most people when they're looking to build sort of consistent profitability. So we're going to look at that in a second, but the next thing we're going to look at here as well is when this is invalidated, the hourly OB, because of this. Yeah. We set a bearish hourly order block. And now you've got to ask yourself the question of, okay, if price action is bullish here, why would we have just set a bearish order block? Now, maybe price is correcting lower, so we can factor in for that, all right? For example, if we were just to take this low here to this high, I would typically kind of favor this because I think it's a bit more kind of clear and obvious. But either way, take the low to the high, maybe we need to come back down below the 50% here, right? Even if you took it from this low, yeah, you can see that price has reacted at the 50% here. So you're kind of then in a little bit of a quandary. So what we do is we can just refine that down. Now, it can be a little bit trickier from a methodology point of view with BTC, but compared to, traditional market assets. So what are we going to do? All we're going to do is we're going to overlay the same principles, but just using order blocks, right? It's something that I'm always a little bit hesitant with people because it's the kind of information you can misuse very easily because you'll just see order blocks anywhere. So what I would say is if you're looking for that extra bit of confirmation here on a 5-minute or even on a 15-minute, if you're favoring the 4-hour, we will look at both. Then as price kind of draws down in here, remember, this is our arrow, yeah? So remember, when we were on the hourly, we said, right, if our theory is correct and we're going to be bullish here, and we know with hindsight our theory wasn't correct, but this is how we kind of stop ourselves taking losing trades, or if we do take a losing trade, how we then know and understand how to then position ourselves on side of a winning trade. So you lose one hour going one way, make that back and more going the other way, as long as you have an understanding of the market dynamics. So remember, the reason we got that arrow here is because this is the candle that closed above, setting this order block. That candle has to close. So we can only trade the next hourly candle, which is this one. All right. So when we're there on the 5-minute, we're saying, okay, we now need to close above an order block here, and then we'll take our entries. So a bullish order block in this example, yeah. So we need to see price close above consecutive down close candles or singular down close candles. Now, the only time that we got that here, right, down close candle here, just do it in green just to show that it's a bullish order block on a lower time frame, right? And then ultimately closed above, retest long. Now, we wouldn't have taken this one here because at that point we had, because this was through at time was midnight. So we're past 1 a.m. now. So we'd actually closed below this. So actually here, yeah, at 105, we're looking for bearish trades. However, just to give you an example of what we'd need to see, down closed candle, closed above, nice big body candle as well. This is what you would look to do, by the way, on the entry. Very, very difficult on this kind of time frame with Bitcoin, right? Because you're dealing with such small percentage sizes, you'd be paying big fees. And, I would look to trade it, first of all, to this high because it's an intermediate term high, but, you could mitigate along the way. Either way, we wouldn't take that trade because, remember, when we go back to our hourly, there's no long here. None of these down closed candles get closed above. None of these down closed candles get closed above, right? Actually, what we were looking for here is this bearish order block is set here, right? So up close candle, low of the body, this candle closes below it, right? So in the same way that this candle closed above these down close candles, yeah, we allow for both because they're consecutive. That set the bullish order block. So we look to long here. Now it reversed immediately. Why might it have done that? We look left and we say, okay, really shouldn't be looking to long there anyway, which we weren't. We were looking to long the retest. And what we have here is a swing higher, but also equal highs. See this high and this high. Remember what I said to you earlier about failure swings, right? When you see price come up, and you'll see this on the lower time frame, when you see price come up here and it fails to take a higher and then it sells off, often you see these attacked again because there's so many stops and so much liquidity built up above here. It's a perfect target for someone. Anyway, so we didn't get any longs here. We closed below here. So that means we're now looking for shorts here. Well, where's our target? Don't get obsessed with setting targets on the lower time frame, right? Please, because people drive themselves nuts because you'll find highs, lows, gaps, and everything everywhere. Just if you're using your hourly as your framing time frame, yeah, then just look for that hourly low or an hourly gap, right? And say to yourself, okay, price could be very well heading for here. So now we're going to overlay the same principles and we're going to say, okay, well, where was our short? And we can see here, what a beautiful, beautiful thing, yeah? This draws up into here. We set this, right? Remember what this is going to become. Until it's closed below, it's nothing. But when it's closed below, it becomes a bearish order block, right? So let's just do that in bright red, yeah? So we see that. So what happens? Price draws up. We get that close below, right? Have we hit our initial target? No. So we wait for the retest on here. Where are we wrong? Well, price shouldn't be coming back above this high. All right. And I'll tell you as for why, because if this order block is correct, then typically you want to see around about the 50% of this respected. So we would put a limit order on here, or not suggesting you do this, but I would put a limit order on there. I put my stops always a few points above the high, and then I know where I'm targeting towards the lows. Now, I know this is some low time frame trading, but depending on what your triple screen system is, you can apply this on different time frames, right? So you can go from a weekly 4 hour to a 15-minute, and we'll look at that again in a minute before we then just absolutely blitz 20 minutes of alts towards the end. So hopefully this is making sense to everyone, by the way, just kind of showing how I kind of take my mindset into the charts and look for the kind of dynamics that price action is telling me is happening, because I know then. So say, for example, we get in this position here, right? And this rips above here, right? And then what we would do is we would then go back to the hourly and say, right, okay, so that was wrong. Yeah. So now we've had basically a double fake. It's quite rare that you get it, bullish here to bearish there. Excuse me. So then I'm saying, okay, well, using that same very simple theory, where would I then be right? I just need to see price close above this hourly, down close candle here. If price closed above this, then at that point I'm saying, okay, I'm pretty confident now that price is ready to move higher. Until that happens, I just focus on the 5 minute here. And then you can also, say you missed this initial move. When was this? It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, right? So say it's not that you would have been up, 2 o'clock in the morning, right? But that's when we get the trigger here. So now if we go back to the hourly, what else kind of gave us an indication that we might continue lower? So we've hit our original target here. Yeah, which we can see. So again, we're just going to overlay, the same principles. Looking lower, where are the key liquidity targets? This low, which we've taken. So now we assume that we're drawing back up to this gap. We'll cover that in a minute, so we can get some live options going as well. But looking at this here, so, okay, decent reaction here. Now, what is price doing? What do we want to see happen if we're looking to short this further? Well, if we want to long it, we now need to close above this black candle here, or down close candles, we call them. And at the moment, this is absolutely what was capping the market to the downside, right? Up close candle, we closed below it. Same pattern that we saw here. Yeah, so we know that's already played out here, but we know this is the bearish order block here. So as price comes back in, we've got two options to short this lower. We can either look to short on the retest into here. Yeah, so we look at the price action within that, which we'll do. Or we've got this option. All right, let's get rid of these arrows, just clean it up a little smidge. So why have we got this option? I'm just going to get rid of this one, right? But you guys get the point, right? You see the up close candle, price close below, beautiful retest, doesn't draw too deep into this, respects the 50%, and then we get a sell-off, right? So now we want to see, okay, price has taken out this low. Is it going lower, or is this enough of a reaction? Well, we need to see it close above this candle, yeah, if we want to get bullish again. If not, we stick with our bias. The trend is your friend until the end. I remember the first time I heard that years and years ago, and it's so cheesy but so true. Right, low of this candle, did we close below it? Yes. What does that mean? Well, that means we want to see price drawing up, and we want to short this candle. All right, so there we go. And we get a really big draw up on price here, which is lovely because it takes out all this liquidity here as well. You see this sweep come in. Yeah, actually, it's almost too clean, right? Because you've got equal highs at the top here as well. See those there, that high and that high, untapped high, liquidity pool. Price runs it aggressively, inducing people, breakout traders, low time frame traders, people that are looking at this and saying like, aha, okay, sloped resistance here. And this is not being derogatory or piss-taking of anybody's methodology. I know some wonderful breakout, like people like SZ, EXO, our very own Just Pit J, for example, right? But especially on the low time frames, these can often be traps. And what you'd hear someone like SZ say here is deviation, price gets back underneath, showing weakness, so you would sell. However, what we're looking for is price to close below these up close candles here, yeah? Just using the same principle. So we get that, and unfortunately, this time we don't get the retest. However, it does allow us to step into the charts, and remember, we know what our downside targets are here. Price typically doesn't just react in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, so what have we got here? We've got some pre-made targets. Price is weak. We can just wait and be patient again. And we can say to ourselves, okay, what do we have in here? Do we have a sweep? Do we have that breakdown? Where's that clear and obvious draw and sweep on liquidity? We see this big, strong move up. You say, okay, if this is looking to hold, we want to see this order block violated, right? If not, then quite simply, if we set the bearish order block here, then you wouldn't take this short because the targets are so close. However, hopefully that kind of all makes a little bit of sense in terms of looking for confirmation entries. It just stops you getting really kind of chopped up. So let's take a look at where we are now, because as we can see here, price really isn't looking so hot at the moment. So let me have a quick sip of tea and then we'll drive into Right, so back to the 4 hour here, because I just want to add this low back in here. So remember, I'm just going to label this up as I would typically on my charts, right? Because this is the prior day low. So you see that as PDL. It's a key liquidity pool. So now, like we said, okay, I'm going to check the other time frames here. The hourly, is there anything it's teaching us here? Well, we've had a really big drop here. So what have we not done? We're not really kind of driving up into the bearish gaps or the bearish order blocks. The last one that we did on the hourly was this. Got that beautiful rejection there from the hourly OB. Price sold off lower. Then we set this order block below it, okay? And actually this didn't look like it, right? But this was actually the last kind of one that was respected, because look, close below, beautiful retest, price sells off. Very similar to what we saw back. Anyway, now we've respected this bearish gap. Price continuing to sell off lower. I'll just do this in red so it's a bit more obvious. So now what are we looking to do? Well, I mean, price is looking pretty heavy here, but we are holding this bullish gap. That's on a daily. If I overlay the bearish gap that's here on the hourly, we can see we just snuck into this here and we've started to reject. So what do we want to look for? Well, you want to be looking for some form of inducement here, some kind of sweep. We've had this sweep here. So if that's going to cause it, this is where we want to see the reaction, okay? So if we're looking at this from a point of market structure, right, as we look in here, we've had this inversion, which actually I really liked this morning. Okay, so big bearish gap here, price closed above it. Now we've kind of drawn back into it, and this is the kind of area we would look for support. Now, I mean, fortunately or unfortunately, this isn't a trade zone for me, just because based on the time of day, if I do overlay, I like to take my trades aligned with New York sessions. I sometimes trade London as well. This is where our dear friend Geo's indicator comes in really handy. It just lays these sessions out here. So again, really aggressive longs here within the London session, fine. But as it stands at the moment, we're kind of over the lunch period and we're just before the New York Open. So very, very treacherous time to trade. Oh, sorry guys, just blowing the old schnoz, so I thought I'd save you that. So we're here. Now for me, I'm saying, okay, well, we want to be holding this area here, right? But we can see these big red boxes above us. Now, I do believe that this is going to provide a draw on price for price to move higher. But what I would say when we're looking at crypto is, the 15-minute is a really, really key time frame, actually, for me, on any asset class, all right? So what I'm looking for here, and this is Asia's range, by the way, which is part of the indicator. These are the bearish gaps, but I mean, we can get rid of that one now because we're done with it, and that one, and that one. So one of the good things you can look for here is the recovery of market structure. Because we've run a key low here and we're reacting at a bullish gap, we can see we've now delivered from an hourly bearish gap. So we say, okay, well, what makes us think that we're going to violate this? Well, you either wait for an hourly close above it. Yeah, that's the safest thing to do. So we invert it, or we look at price here and we say, okay, well, where's the high, which is here. So price has moved up, set a high. Now set a higher low. Okay, happy with that. What else is going on? Well, we're reacting here at a bullish gap. So what do we want to see? Well, I want to see this. We've got this order block here now as well, right? So I'm just going to move this away from being the high. I'm going to focus on this being the 15-minute order block. And I'm saying to myself, well, look, if price is reacting at a bullish gap here, I want to see price close above this. In which case, then I can move to the lower time frames and try and look for some high risk entries. Like I say, you would want to see on an hourly scale, this closed above. Price closes above this on an hourly scale. That's pretty much been rebalanced there. We've got this order block that's been tested into here. So I really do think we can make a run on these highs. Order blocks are much more of a management system when we're looking to take trades or we're looking to see if price is respecting structure. When we're kind of longing or shorting, I'm not thinking, oh, there's an order block there, I don't want to short into that. I would always kind of be aware of it. But like this order block here, I'm much more interested in the highs. Yeah, these key highs and lows. That's where liquidity rests because that's where people put their stop losses. All right. So now I finished jabbering on about all of that. Hopefully there was some value in that for you guys. We're just going to overlay these principles and we're going to spend the next kind of 15 minutes, hopefully, we're going to run FTM, Ondo, Dusk, ETH, BTC, Litecoin, and SUI. So FTM. Beautiful. Right. So this is why I love kind of leaving the previous TA on the charts. Let me just pop this indicator off again for a second. Let's see what we're looking at here. What are we looking at? So there you go. This is beautiful, actually. This is effing beautiful. And I tell you for why. Ignore this stuff up here at the moment, right? Because this is, you can see this daily order block here, order block, just the 4-hour stuff up here, really, that I want us to ignore for a moment. Let's do it in a group. Let's label the group 1. Lock it, hide it, and we'll open that up when we move to the 4-hour. Now, just for some extra context here, this is a beautiful SR level, right? So again, we were expecting some kind of resistance here. Until we really reclaim it and hold that area, this is really, really key resistance here on FTM. But this is what I'm blithering on about when I'm saying how beautiful this move is, okay? Ignore that for a moment. That was what we were using, by the way. Sorry, that's the bullish order block, yeah? Up, down, close candle, closed above, price came in, held a bullish gap, popped on that, why we were long FTM. Just you know, I always try and say to people, just especially any of my mentoring students or anybody at the nest, is just try and keep things simple for yourself. Don't try and do everything or overlay stuff. Just say, look, you're at key resistance. What do you want to see? Well, if this is different this time, we see a big rejection wick here. We need to see strength down here. This is the place to long, not up here. This is the place to short. Now, I thought that we would take out this high, which is why it's still there, but we didn't. So what were we then looking for? We're looking for support here. Yeah. Now, this is a down close candle. For me, I allow for this one because it closed below the range of the previous candle's bodies. Yeah, that if they were consecutive and they covered this candle, I would then give more weight to these because like with this one, yeah, even though this worked really, really well, and it's always important to show that, don't cherry pick stuff, right? These 3 down close candles, this one was in the range. See the low of that candle, this existed within that. However, it's just a little bit too big, this area. So you would kind of take that to an allowance. However, if you've got a candle like this, for example, see these down close candles, I want to see price close above this before I'm getting super bullish here. Not this little one here. And again, yes, it works and you can do it and do test it. So this one here. But ultimately, this is the one for me. If that's the down move before the expansion higher, and you can see with these long upside wicks, that wasn't the place to be jumping into longs. Anyway, why is this so beautiful? Well, we came up, closed above, right? Got some support in here, ran the highs, came back and closed. So it worked well, but we're going to get rid of that for a moment because that's not what we're interested in here. We want to focus on what's current. And this for me is just the most beautiful and current piece of information that we could want along with this. So what have we done here? This gap was bullish. Support, 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 support led to this pump, closed below it, inverted it, set the bearish order block. Where are we looking on FTM? Lower. So at FTM here, I'm looking at 0.6511, okay? So now let's have a look on the 4-hour, right? And we want to get up the previous analysis that we were looking at here as well. See if we had our kind of finger on the pulse, which was this. And again, you see just really, really super clean. We were looking for this bullish gap to hold because again, we've made a run on this high. Remember the long, thick green line, that's that key resistance level. That's the daily order block. So that's fine. We get rid of that now. Yeah, remove that. Right. So what are we expecting here? Resistance. Where are we expecting price to target? Well, the bullish gap. Yeah. And then this 4-hour order block. So Price draws in here into the OB and we get that little bit of reaction, but then ultimately we close below it here. So what have we done then? We've retested the order block. If the buyers were ready to step in here, yeah, then I would be looking for a reaction here. I wouldn't be looking for wick up, and then this basically big bodied pin bar candle, basically, or bearish hammer. Probably a little bit big to be a hammer, but if you see a downside body like that with a long wick above it, think of it like a lead shot. Yeah, there is weight in that and it can drag things a lot lower. So then we just look lower, and where do we target? We look for clear and obvious targets. And actually, I'd really favor this one here, D for wire, because you've got untapped swing low, basically a collection of relative equal lows, which means that there's a lot of stops down here, right? So it's just a magnet for price. We also know that we had this bullish gap that had been rebalanced at this point, but would draw lower. So all of a sudden, the close of this candle, yeah, and tells us the same thing here. Okay, we're probably correcting a bit lower. So when that candle closed here, this then becomes an inversion gap, overlaying exactly the same as before, right? Then what happens? Price draws back into it, and then ultimately we sell off, okay? So that's where we are at the moment. In terms of the 4 hour, I still really favor this moving down to here, 0.6511. I'm just not really sure what's going to stop that in here. All right, you've got a small inversion gap here that maybe price will draw towards, but I do favor highs and lows. I'm not sure there's big institutions out there targeting inversion gaps and that to take profit or that in highs and lows, because that's where retail and other funds and most people will place their stop losses. Okay, it's all about a bit of liquidity hunting. So this gave us a really good opportunity. Unfortunately, it happened through the night, well, for me anyway, which was our 4 hour order block here. The reason I'm going through so many timeframes is some of you that I've taught over the years or are part of the nest, and others that maybe don't even have any association will use like a daily, 4 hour, hourly, 15-minute in different conjunctions. So let's take a look at that. Yeah, Yo Storms HD. I'll slide in one more for you, mate. SEI. I think we got that as well on Monday, so it'd be interesting to have a look at that. So where are we here? Close below here, taking this liquidity target. What do I want to see if price is going to move higher here? I'm just going to delete these for a second, just because we know that we're obviously bearish on the basis of that. So what happened? Price took liquidity from a low. Where do we then look for price to do? Well, we look for it to move towards a gap, yeah, to rebalance an inefficiency, which we see here in this bearish 4 hour gap. Then for extra confirmation, what do we get? Price closed through in Asia, perfect retest, and that gorgeous sell-off that we got there. So if we were looking at this on the hourly, yeah, and we want to overlay some more context into this, quite simply, your up close candle was here. So you got that move even earlier here on the hourly, right? But after we had the breakdown of the move after this 4 hour gap, then we also got some really lovely confluence here on the 1 hour from this bearish gap. Yeah. So what happened? Price closed below. Again, I know this actually happened. This was played out this morning in London, right? But I wasn't trading the London session. But looking at FTM here, I bloody wish I was, because we got this beautiful rejection here, this up close candle. Yeah, which is kind of in the range of these two, so you could make an allowance for this one as well. We set the hourly order block, right? Beautiful sell-off. Now, I would just want to see the same thing play out. If we're chasing this thing lower, there's our next hourly order block. You want to see that displacement, you want to see that move below it, and then you can target the retest here, for example, if we take a look at what happened here. Oh God, it was beautiful as well, wasn't it? Always is the ones that you miss, right? Always looks so clean. So it took a high, any low, or I'm looking for price to react at a gap. There was the high that we took using the same order block theory that I've just been jabbering on about for ages. There's the close below. Limit order goes on here. And then, like we said, you're always looking left for where those targets are. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could hold a runner down here, right? But you also want to be, taking key profits when you can. So you can always look left, like I won't do it now, but you would zoom out onto a higher time frame chart, right? And then look for where those lows and highs are. So while price kind of holds this area, and let's go back to our hourly very quickly, then ultimately, closing below here on the hourly, I think would lead us into a little bit more downside here. But I would also want to take a look here and say, okay, well, where are these obvious targets? And again, It is here. I know we're kind of drawing down here into this order block, but you know, on a daily scale, we did already have that big reaction there. Right now, price is here again. We're just asking ourselves if the buyers have stepped in. We see the reaction here, which is when we would look to long because we took out this low. Let me zoom in so you can see that better. Yeah, so when we revisited this order block was here, we swept the low and we had that reaction. If that was buyers stepping in, we shouldn't be coming back down again, right? So that's all we're saying to ourselves, all right? So let's take a look at the 4 hour very quickly, see if that gives us any more kind of targeting options. It just doesn't really for me, I think. Look, price can react here. Price definitely doesn't have to do what I say. And we'll always have a plan to trade it both ways. But I think the cleanest one at the moment is just saying, okay, well, look, let's just get rid of all of this for a minute. Really stripping it back to its absolute simplicity. Close below this, I think we chase lower. Close above this, and I think we move higher. And not just BS, oh, I think we move higher, I'm going to trade a couple of pips and then say that was a win. You know, we've got this key level here, and that's the high. So I think if we do manage to reverse here, and again, markets are a little bit overextended to the downside. These bounces, you know, are probably due quite soon, even if it's just to trap people and then move it lower. But I think if we close below there, I think it's a ticket to kind of look for some lower prices, all right? So we're just going to try and really rip through the rest of these now. Let's take a look at Ondo. Ondo, where are we? And actually, let me just look at this. Remember as well, guys, please do come over and trade with me at Bitget. And please do also remember that you can, let me see if I can find the right side for you. Here we go. So you get $20 from Bitget. It's just free money, right? It's an absolute no-brainer, but you know, you do you, I'm going to do me, right? But I would say just get on there, get that money. It's money in your pocket for nothing, right? But try the exchange. Why not think of it this way? Deposit your $100 and then just trade the 20. Keep your 100 safe and then just use that 20 to kind of, whether you're new to this, to familiarize yourself with the exchange and how to use it. And if you're not new to it, then, you know, just go and punt on some meme coins or something, right? Some really high risk stuff. Look, you do you, it's not financial advice, but if you do that, we want to give you a little bit more. So all you need to do is do your Bitget sign up, send me, you can contact me, BC_Ridgefield on Twitter with your Bitget UID. And we're going to get you 2 weeks access to the Nest for free, right? There's tons of stuff in there. I've got a course on there. There's algorithmic trading courses. You can learn how to make your own algorithmic trading systems. You get direct access to the Burbicator Pro, which is B Pro, obviously Burb's incredible trading indicator, which we can take a very quick look at in a moment if you like. But just give it a go, guys. You can find all the stuff in the description. You know, just I think it seems like a no-brainer to me. Anyway, let's see if we can rip through these in the next 6 minutes, right? So I actually quite like Ondo here, holding a daily bullish gap, kind of driven quite deep back into this order block, right? So that looks a little bit weak for me because look, that was the OB on the daily. Price has now kind of come back down. So we want to see the kind of equilibrium of this hold, which is still doing it actually. So maybe we draw down. As long as we hold this gap, I think things could be looking up. Here, obviously, we got this beautiful precursor here with the bearish order block, but anyway, I won't kind of go too much into that. But on a daily scale, definitely what I'm looking for there on the 4 hour. Yeah, it's looking heavy, but again, it's holding this big 4 hour here as well. So I'm not really sure it's the time to short this. I think we really could move lower. We didn't retest this order block here, for example, so maybe a move up to this on the H4. In terms of a low, it had no reaction at all at this low. And if you ever wonder that, just draw the line across, a little like meh, close below, retest, goodbye. All right, it's not an order block, it's just a low, especially if you see a key wick low. Yeah, so like this one, long wick on here, draw it across, you'll be amazed how clean price action is. As soon as it closes below, look how the wicks just get above it and then it sells off. Just think, they're just lines of psychology, right? Look, if these people are all selling here, then price got above and they're all buying here, if you get back below it again, chances are people are going to start selling again, right? But in terms of targets, a little bit of an insignificant low, not really meaning to slag it off. Apologies for the language, but it's not as significant as this one because this is on the exterior of the range. That's 0.70160, but I'm also interested to see what happens at 0.72119 for the keen people among you. While we hold this gap here, it's a bullish gap, I would just want to see price close above this on the hourly, right? Hourly close above this. I think we get some decent bounce longs here. Just makes sense because it's quite low. But again, so it should be on that candle. But again, we look like we're about to set another bearish order block here as well, right? So 3 minutes time, let's see if we get the close below here. Retests here are probably for selling, and again into this low. But do just show a bit of caution here. We're low in the move, and price is obviously at a daily gap. But I think in terms of targets, that should be pretty clear. So let's take a look at Dusk. A lot of these alts will probably look a little bit similar, right? But let's run through. So what have we done? We've swept this low. Not really seen a reaction there, have we? In terms of where we could be drawing to now, I mean, that's the key target for me, 0.16594. Yeah, going to really kind of use the 4 hour here to refine this a bit further. We've got a very, very skinny OB here, which was perfectly retested again. And now price is heading lower. I would be a little bit cautious with this because, we're coming in here, which is prior day's low. Okay. So actually, I mean, maybe this would be a good little catalyst here. If we run that, run that, close above this down close candle here, or even this one here, because if this exceeds the range of that, which it should do if it closes, it will either be this that we want to look for the long above, or it will be this one here. Okay, just be very cautious heading. I think this is the clear draw on liquidity at the moment. We want to see how price reacts down there. Obviously, from a higher time frame, we've got some pretty clear and obvious targets. I just think, look, that's going to be a big draw on price here, and this reaction here looks pretty weak at the moment to be getting back below. Yeah, perfect. All right, so excuse me, ETH BTC. What have we got here? So, where is our friend from earlier? Bitget KYC. Yeah, you can get rewarded for doing KYC, but obviously I can't advise you to not do it, but I use it absolutely fine in certain countries, let's say. Just always, be safe, burned, my friend. Nick, yeah, where the hell have you been? Oh, I've eaten all the donuts. That sucks. I'd absolutely murder a donut right now. Okay, so I'm just looking for this for the lady or the gentleman that asked me earlier. Who was it? About ETH BTC. ETH BTC. Here we go. Mr. Brownbug. What do you think about ETH BTC on the higher time frame? Looking for 0.035. If that doesn't hold 0.028. Beautiful. Let's have a look, shall we? ETH BTC. Oh, wow, look at that. We were all over that, right? Just simple liquidity, low, retest. Look how clean that was. Closed above, perfect retest at that level. Then you draw these kind of levels across as well, and then, you start closing below these. You can see how they can quickly turn to resistance. Anywho, let's take a look here. On a daily, I think it's just kind of trapped at the moment, just ranging between this low and this high. I would say this is a tricky one, right? Because we're still holding this bullish gap here, right? Like a lot of crypto. So I think, while this is kind of holding here, I think it could push higher. So you see, looking for 0.035. Oh, okay. So looking really low then, or 0.028. So yeah, you're really on the high time frames here, aren't you, mate? So maybe a weekly would be more helpful. 0.037. I think we got a big weekly gap here, right? Big weekly bullish gap. That would be my first kind of area of interest if we're going to kind of purge out lower. But I do think the next weekly gap starts here, 0.03466. But the low is, on a weekly scale, 0.029, right? So I think you're in the right kind of ballpark there, Mr. Brownbug, certainly how I would be looking at it. All right, mate. But yeah, that is certainly interesting. I think, very lack of respect, or a definite lack of respect there for the golden pocket. So ETH BTC, let's take a look at Litecoin. Why not? I really do struggle to keep these streams short, don't I? So anyway, look, Litecoin. Oh, okay. Actually, Litecoin looks pretty good here. Weekly. I mean, focus a little bit more on the daily actually with that, especially with crypto. So it's gone from looking okay on the weekly to looking a little bit weak here on the daily, in my opinion. We close below this order block now. So that closed there yesterday, meaning we were expecting lower price action today. See you later, Bern. Thank you, as always, my friend, for joining us. Tricky thing here is we're reacting at a bullish gap. So the daily really isn't that clear actually here, because I wouldn't really want to short a bullish gap here. We can see low to high. We're comfortably back down below 50%, actually probably approaching the golden pocket here as well. Tricky to short this one here. I think I'd probably be favoring long setups here, because we still haven't retested this daily order block either. So I think that's a good way to look at it, is maybe price is going to get its bounce here, and then we've got a pre-made target sat here as well. The 4 hour gave us a perfect little close below here. We're reacting also at this time frame aligned 4 hour gap, right? So I quite fancy this for a move higher here, even if it's just back to this. Now the hourly isn't really giving us much here, because oh no, it is. We got this little slither of an up close candle here, right? So I think, unfortunately, we haven't quite got it yet, right? But I think if we close above this on the hourly, I think we target this higher first, which is a gap higher, an intermediate term higher. And then I think we move back to retest this daily order block here. Not the place to short for me here, unfortunately. The place to short, was overnight, unfortunately, even though we're in a bullish gap here, right? So it still would have been treacherous, but you could have taken some intraday plays down to that low. Then SUI. What have we got going on here? There we go, held that gap, and we saw that nice expansion. Now, again, just save that as just some old data. We can go back to that. Let's get ourselves a nice clean chart. Yeah, again, tricky one, right? Even though we're showing some weakness here, we are kind of in this bullish gap again. Look, bullish reaction here, bullish reaction here. Price did kind of set up, ultimately rejected this bearish gap. And a key resistance level here as well. So now we're kind of breaking down below that. It's a little bit tricky. We've taken prior day's low where we would expect to see some kind of reaction, but ultimately we're just kind of still holding this gap until it closes. So we need to see that daily close. 4 hour, I think, will tell us a little bit more. 4 hour was really super clean with this order block. So we got the nice retest of this as well. Again, we've just kind of taken out Tuesday's low here, prior day low. So that is a liquidity pool that we want to be showing respect to, but at the same time, pretty strong close, but very little reaction here. We can see we also have a bullish gap here as well. Sal.eth, I'm really, really sorry, mate. I'll squeeze in SEI at the end. I'll do Marvia for you as well, but then I really do need to go because I need to open the trading desk, mate. But you can hit me up next week and I'll be happy to take a look. Although I'll be in Dubai next week, won't I? But I'm sure we'll make some time. Bullish gap holding here. Again, not really the area to short. We're quite low here, but if we're looking for if we're looking for downside targets, 1.7463 and possibly this as well, 1.7949. The hourly hopefully will give us a little bit more. Hourly looks really weak as well because we closed below the up close candle here, setting an hourly order block. Yeah, tricky one this, I think. Again, low to short. We've kind of taken out some key lows here. Prior day's low was swept there. I think, bearish gap up here. And I do think that if we are going to see recovery here, we would just want to see price above these down close candles, right? And then we can look to move higher. If not, bearish pressure is on here, right? But remember, we're still holding that daily gap now. SEI. Let's see what we've got here. Basically the same here, guys, right? With SEI, a lot of crypto is going to be looking the same, right? We're holding this gap. We've taken a key low here. We didn't really see a strong reaction. We're now below the up close candles here. So we've set this order block here, set this order block here. Price is actually looking quite heavy on this one. Again, difficult to short it because of the nature that we're holding this bullish gap, right? And this bullish order block. However, 0.38833 is definitely an interesting level. 4 hours to see some kind of recovery here on the 4 hour. You know, we need to be getting above all these down close candles here. Sorry. So that's still quite a big move there for price. I think we try and finesse this one a little bit more with the hourly. Yeah, it really does look heavy, this actually. You know, again, look at all the collection of down close candles here. You really want to see price getting back above these. Very difficult to short these though because we're so low. But look what happened when we broke down below this big bearish order block here. Yeah, it gave us some beautiful shorts during London this morning. So bearish order block for really the order of the day. If you want to get super aggressive looking for a recovery here, then two things that stand out immediately that would be a really good sign here is the fact that we've taken this low. I would want to see this gap inverted. So it's currently a bearish gap. I want to see price close above this. And then hopefully in closing above that, close above that as well, right? So close above, retest this area, look for that sweep on the lower time frame, and then look to trade it long. Not really interested in shorting things here at the moment, although, you know, would have been a little bit higher up with that hourly close. Oh no, what did you ask for, Casey? Bonk. Okay, well, very quickly in a couple of minutes, but we're going to be late for the live trading session. I know you'll be over there with us as well, probably, Casey, but no, absolutely. Marvia and Bonk, 1 second. Right, so let's get ourselves Marvia first, right? Always. Why is that not? There we go. Yes. What have we got going on here then? Marvia, let's have a look. Really big slope resistance on this. Look at that beast. Wow, it should be a little bit lower actually because we want a touch point on that one here. So looking at it like that, right, we can see we've had that kind of strong close above here. We inverted this bearish gap, which gave us the early stage indications that we were seeing some strength here. Ultimately, we then disrespected it and came back below, so invalidated it. Now we've kind of, again, look, we've validated that. We didn't take out the low, though, which surprised me with that because that was an inversion gap. So that's why we had this low targeted here. Just clean a few of these bits up. The expectation when we closed below was for price to come down and take out this low. However, when we're wrong, we learn much more than when we're right, often, not all the time, right? So we were here, I was expecting price to come down and take this. Ultimately, we closed there and then just managed to take the prior day's low. Then when you see this strong reaction back up, when we closed above this here, yeah, then you say, okay, actually, what have we done here? Well, the interesting thing that we've done here is that's invalidated. But this bearish gap here, when we had a slither of a close above, or certainly with this one here, then became the inversion that allowed us to step on board here and long this, right? Then we longed it up, and then what else did we do? Well, quite simply, we then came back down, and we had this beautiful bullish gap then at this point as well, right? Between this candle and this candle here. So let's just, I don't know what I've managed to do there, but anyway, let's just draw this one across to here, yeah? So that, put that in green, we know there's an inversion underneath it as well. What did we do? Came back down, tested into this, and then we had that nice expansion higher. We've now set a daily order block here as well, and we've kind of had this nice breakout of this trend line resistance. So if we've taken liquidity from this, right, and we know we've swept that higher, then this could be the correction down into the order block to start looking for long positions. I really like how this looks compared to all the other assets. Marvia is looking really strong here, in my opinion. Beautiful bullish gap here, right? I'm just going to get rid of this for a minute, right? Yes, we've kind of set that. We know we've set that. So now we want to kind of say to ourselves, okay, where do we look for longs? We look for longs in here. We just looking here, actually, seem very close to a 50% retrade. Well, yeah, nicely below the 50%, almost to the golden pocket. So I think this looks good here, right? I think, you know, you've shifted market structure with displacement. Good to kind of hunt some longs from this gap. In terms of confirmation, my God, we've set some beautiful liquidity targets up here with these untapped highs. 2 down close candles. Want to see price close above this, and then I think we absolutely rip those highs. Again, if you wanted to get a bit more aggressive with it, there's not really any more aggressive plays on the 15 minutes. So we're going to close up now on, God, my mind is terrible. Let's do bonk, shall we? I think it was Erica actually who brought this up the other day and caught a nice little intraday trade on that. So look at how this price action is just a lot more compressed, right? It's a lot more efficient. So what we're looking for here is the latest thing that price has done. And for me, it's, you know, price closed under this. So that's set our bearish order block. Beautiful retest here after cleaning out all of these highs. I think price is heading for this low here at 0.400217629. Good luck remembering that. We have not also retested this, I don't think. Daily order block here. No, we haven't. So these are really, really good targets here. Yes, price obviously looking a little bit heavy, and it is a little bit treacherous to kind of short with this, but you've got to kind of take those liquidity targets, right? 4 hour, what's the 4 hour telling us? Not a lot, right? We have taken a 4 hour low here though, right? But again, look, remember what I said to you about these lows. Reaction here, then price closes below it. This is much more likely to act as resistance. Okay, because you can tell if there's big buying stepping in here, now price got down to here, failed to have any kind of bounce, and has just kind of slumped below it. And again, we focus on our targets down here. What's the hourly up to? Well, actually, the hourly tells us a lot here because we've just closed below this. Okay, so let's see if we've got any setups in here. All right. Now let's have a look here. This player set. You just set this low. Again, look what happens. Initial reaction, then price finds resistance at these key wick lows. Now we're within this order block, right? So now what I want to do is see what would, we've set the order block here. What do I want to see? Well, if I want to short this, I've got a bearish gap set up here. There's two plays basically. You wait for a reaction at this gap, and then for price to close below, setting the order block here, retest of that line, trade it into those lows. All right. You know, even if it dropped from here, I would say it's getting resistance at this level. You do really want to see inducement though. You want to see reaction at a gap or a high. We don't really have that here. However, I think something like that would be a sensible trade here. And guess what? We close above this here, yeah, and we set this big bullish order block. Chances are that price is going to make a run on the liquidity resting above here. Look, guys, I said I was going to do this short. In fact, I overran by about 15 minutes. So we did get through a lot today. I really hope it's been useful for some of you. I really do appreciate the amount. I mean, we've got almost 3,000 people live with us today, which is just a blessing. And I appreciate every single one of you, even some of the nicer bots. But I'm going to be over in Dubai next week, so I don't know schedule-wise. I'm going to try and do some live streams. Well, I am going to do some live streams from over there with you, all right? And then we're going to be at Binance Blockchain Week, so there should be loads of cool stuff coming up. Again, you know, please do go and check out Bitget. Go and get your free $20. Also, brilliant exchange to trade on. Tons and tons of assets. Great liquidity, especially if you're a low time frame trader, which means a lot to you. And they've also just re-announced their partnership with La Liga, which is massive. Obviously, you know, as a very, very keen football person as well, then, you know, it really gives us a nice insight to what they're building and how confident they are about their future, right? That's what you look for in the very best companies. So do come along, trade with us. You can find the links in the description. Remember, if you do, to just ping me a DM in Twitter, BC_Richfield. And I will also give you access to the Bird Nest. You can come along, you can learn from me every day, my amazing trading team. The wonderful one and only Crypto Bird himself, be part of a hugely vibrant community that's full of education, respect, and a lot of very, very good trades from a very, very good professional trading team. Guys, have a fantastic week ahead. Love and respect to all of you. Be good to one another. Watch the markets. Get in touch. I'm available on Twitter. You can come and reach me over at The Nest. Have a fantastic week, and I look forward to seeing you from Dubai next week.